For the past 7 years or so, a program called Pencil has been sending adults back to the classroom as volunteer principals for a day to experience life in the New York City public schools. Seth Siegel is co-chairman of the Beanstalk Group. He's been participating in the program for 3 years. Russell Simmons, CEO of Rush Communications, was a principal for the day for the first time on Thursday. Guys, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Matt.
Seth, people hear about this. They say, okay, you're going to be principal for a day. That means you're going to send kids to detention and tell them to write things on the blackboard. It's not about that. Give me an idea of what this is about.
It's really an effort to get business people and others in the community into the schools to see what life is like in the hallways, in the classrooms, and in the principal's office on a day-to-day basis.
But to see it for what reason? So they can go home and say, wow, I had it better, or wow, I have to make it better?
I think it's more the second, so how I can make the school system better. It's an integral part of our communities. The children are our future neighbors, our future workforce, and how can we turn the schools around to make them as good as they can be.
And of course the hope of the program, because you're a CEO and you're all community leaders, that you will have the access and the input in your community to actually get some things done.
And also to change the way media and the politicians out there speak about the schools so that people feel more comfortable with public funding of schools and helping out to build the schools from the ground up.
Yeah, the perception's important, Russell. We were just talking about that. You know, you hear so many stories these days, and particularly here in New York, about the degrading of our public schools. And this is an attempt, I guess, getting someone like you in there where you can give a different side to the story.
Well, I didn't quite get that. I thought that the schools do need more funding. We do need to put more work into them, and it wasn't as bad as, as you guys are suggesting. It's not as bad as some politicians suggest, but it is important that we pay attention to the public schools more, and that's why I got out of it. I didn't get that it's not as bad and we should be happy with the level of education or the teachers' salaries or the size of the classrooms. Those things do need to be worked on still.
One of the things when you go, and we were all talking about, you see passion in the schools.
That's right.
And that's oftentimes not talked about. Not only with students, but with teachers as well.
Teachers. Teachers are so committed. In fact, I went back to my alma mater, and I
Which
saw
school was that?
August Martin High School in Queens, and we brought Music Soul Child, who had a #1 record this year, so he's a big celebrity as well. And the teachers who attended the school, there were a few, and there were other teachers who were just so inspired. And that, for me, that's why I think they need better salaries, and we should be focused on, kind of spraying that energy. Because in that school, certainly, there was a great energy amongst the teachers.
I was a principal for a day a couple of years ago, and you have time during the day to sit with just groups of kids and talk to them. Did you hear anything yesterday, Seth, that kind of opened your eyes?
Well, it's amazing to me, and this is my 3rd year doing it, what is amazing to me is the level of devotion and passion by the teachers. The principal, I also went to my alma mater, PS 165 in Queens. The principal, Sonia Lupion, is there every morning at the crack of dawn. She leaves 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. She worries about the children as if they were her own. And this is completely at odds with the popular perception of what's going on in the schools.
Do you feel pressure, though, now that you've gone and done it, Russell, and you're expected, you're expected to now make a difference? How do you actually make it happen?
Well, we have a foundation, and through Rush Arts Foundation, we do work with the schools. That was my first principal for a day, but I visited 3 schools last week, so it's not a new trip for me. And I do want to have input, and I do talk to all the politicians about what their possibilities are. I'm supportive of Mark Green and Andy Cuomo, and I think these are the kind of people who will make a difference.
Those are local politicians here in New York, but the
Did I
people in
not
other
say
parts of the
mayor
country.
and
No,
governor?
that's okay. Absolutely. I thought that one of the things interesting when I went back is I was amazed at how much more emotionally advanced it seemed that the young people were than my friends and I were back when I was. I mean, they seem to have been exposed to so many more things these days than we were as kids.
Actually, my experience was exactly the opposite.
Really?
Because when I went to PS 165, it was all kids from stable homes, English-speaking households, and these children at these schools are overwhelmingly from either themselves immigrants or immigrant families, probably a dozen or more languages spoken in the school. And the real effort that needs to be built is on community building and acculturation to the American dream. And that's another large part of the burden of public schools around this country.
Maybe that's the best thing about the program. It can realize that there are no stereotypes about public schools.
Well, I found that the kids were more sophisticated than me in every area. That's a big surprise to me.
Russell Simmons, Seth Siegel, nice to see you both.
Thank you, man.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. 50 past the hour. Up next, Gene Shalit in his Critics Corner with a review of Along Came a Spider. But first, on a Friday morning, this is Today on NBC.